I totally agree. I mean, I think I love Netflix. I watch a ton of stuff on Netflix. Don't get me wrong, but I also think that in IFC, like the film that you mentioned, Super, we play a lot of IFC films, and IFC always releases stuff on demand, day and date of when they're released theatrically. And at first I was like, I don't know if we want to even go there, because if you could have access to it at home, why would you come to the theater and watch it? But actually, we do pretty well with those films.
Because there's something about going to see a movie in a theater.
Right.
And there really is, and there always will be. It's just like, going to a concert, for example. You can have the album and listen to it at home, but going to see the show is something entirely different,
Well, I mean, I feel like HBO has had the right idea since the 80s, and same with Netflix, because they've kind of adopted something similar to that, which is a subscription-based model. But they still have to figure out how to do the deals on the back end so that the artists are getting paid
The
more.
interesting thing is that Netflix is even considering making original programming and getting into the funding film market, But see, that's the sort of thing that I get excited about, because you do those little micro-budgeted films where you can give $2 million and have original content that they can stream, and it gives an artist a chance to do it, and you get new content. So there's an upside. It's not all doom and gloom as far as,
I agree. I totally agree. I think there could be a good future for it. What I'd like to see is a wider spectrum of getting paid for your work, so that there can be like more of a middle class artist. That's what I'd like to see represented, where you can kind of
a middle class artist. I was going to say, I think that's an issue not necessarily just for movies. It's for music, it's for TV, it's for anything, and that's all, I don't know, that's like all corporate, But I think Netflix, I look back to Blockbuster and what Blockbuster did, and like they were a complete shift from what had happened before. And I was like, oh no, Blockbuster, VHS, we're all going to be able to record things, and now we won't get paid. And then it ended up being commodified and working pretty well. And then Netflix came along, and Blockbuster said, oh, shoot. Now we're out of business. So I think technology will always be one step ahead of how to make money off of it. So there'll always be that chasing of things. But I think Netflix has essentially put Blockbuster out of business. And so I think Hulu's great. I think Netflix is great. I think the subscription model is great. I think that's the best way to do it. And right now it's just that shift, trying to figure out how to make money off of something that we've known as free for so long. And that's going to be the big shift.
It's interesting because as you're all talking, people are kind of posting the same kind of ideas up here. One thing is, I don't think the methods of attaining free media online will ever get shut down. The good sites are very well hidden. And you're right, they are. Another comment is Avatar, really, really good, great looking in theaters. Not so much on one's iPad. Or I would argue on one's 4-inch screen on their phone.
Or one's brain.
Or one's brain. Dancing with Smurfs. Anyways, but this kind of gets to the question y'all were just kind of raising up here. I have two thoughts. One, this is to you, CJ. How does indie film differ from indie music? And y'all may talk about that for a bit. But also, how has music been affected by this idea of DIY and online and those types of things? So, whichever one you want to tackle first.
I think I'll answer that second question first. I think it's been affected by kind of the new media movement, or whatever you like to call it, in a few different ways, and on a few different levels for different, levels of artists. I think it's been a great way to, like you said, democratize music. People who would have never had a chance to get their voice out there in the past are able to, be Rebecca Black or whoever.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, just people that never would have had a shot in the past. And you just are able to, if you're a smaller band or a smaller label like us, you just reach a much wider audience than you ever would have been able to in the past. I think indie labels used to pretty much just rely on word of mouth and record stores, like small independent record stores, to champion what they were doing. And now the internet's given us a pretty good route to take as far as, just spreading the word about what we do. But then, like they were talking about, it also kind of has, I mean, it hasn't toppled the music business, but it definitely hurt it a lot. Downloading took a huge chunk out of record sales, which hurts labels and hurts artists. And we're in the process of adjusting for that still. There's some new things happening that hopefully, like there's a new subscription service called Spotify that's launching in the U.S. that will kind of be like Netflix for music. And there are a few other similar things, you know. We'll see which one rises to the top. And I don't know. I'm blanking.
I mean, I feel like the music industry was on the front lines of all of this. They were the first to kind of get destroyed by it. I mean,
destroyed by it?
I mean, they're not destroyed completely, but yeah. But you guys are sort of the ones that kind of have to figure out a new model and
subscription.
Yeah, it's
I think
subscription, and I mean, right now in Congress they're trying to pass a bill where cable providers will be more responsible for quelling illegal downloading. And I know they're like some cable providers are doing that now, where it's a warning-based system where you get, you know, a first warning if you're downloading from a torrent site or whatever. Second warning, you get a 30-day suspension, and third warning, you get your internet taken away. So that's maybe the more heavy-handed way to do it, but I guess not as heavy-handed as the lawsuits that happened in the 10 years ago or whatever that were just totally ridiculous and counterproductive.
Question came up on the board here. Okay, cool. With a lot of music being put in films, are there, or do you think there is a relationship between specific bands and movie producers? Are you seeing this kind of relationship developing between music artists and then film producers and directors and writers and things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, it's different for different movies, different directors. I mean, I'd imagine some directors are more hands-on about that and are more specific about what music gets included in their movies, and then most movies just have a music director that handles like getting the rights to the songs that they put in their movies, and the director probably could care less. It's just, I think it's different for each movie.
Yeah, and but that has been an important way to compensate artists.
Yeah, that's
like growing more and more. Like
that's been a big new source of income lately. I mean, there's always been music and commercials and stuff, but I think in the past it was more just canned, like I think companies and movie directors are paying more attention to the music that they select for their commercials or for their movies, and understand that there's a fan base for artists that will be interested in the bands they like, being in a movie, and that'll help them out.
Take the Hannah that just came out this last 2 weekends ago. The Chemical Brothers doing the soundtrack to it. It was promoted in the trailers.
Daft Punk and Tron.
I mean that's
Trent Reznor and Social Network.
Oscar winner Trent Reznor.
Eminem did it first.
So there's a lot of.
Well, and then who was the Radiohead? Johnny Greenwood, who did There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
And that, things like that are covered by the music media as well as movie media, and there's, you just reach a wider audience by just having something like that seem newsworthy to two different worlds.
I actually think that if you want to trace back, I do think that there's been a surge of directors in particular getting involved with the soundtracks, not just the scores to the films, and I think it stemmed from Tarantino when it was back around Pulp Fiction time when he started making, really, and Reservoir Dogs and things like that.
Scorsese's pretty into it.
And that's true. Scorsese's like the outlier as far as the, classic movie directors in that way, but I think Tarantino made doing such a thing cool and sort of, part of because he really did lead to a boom in a lot of the modern filmmakers and inspired, sort of a younger group to get out there.
Well, I think that's a big part.